Assalamu alaikum, hi everyone, I'm Aminul and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today in this video I'm gonna present Gary Vaynerchuk's top 10 motivational video, and his videos are totally related to motivation, inspiration and entrepreneurship. And please don't forget to comment below that about what topic you wanna watch my next video. So here we go.
I don't want to go skiing, dickface. I do not want to go skiing. I do not want to go to a beer garden.
This is a simple game of are you happy for you?
It is not fun for me to go look at a museum. I am not interested in watching Netflix. I am not interested. Get the fuck out of the machine for a second and think about what you're doing here. You're gonna die.
I just want you to be self-aware and happy.
Because happiness drives everything.
Not how many headlines, not how many followers, not how much money, not how many accolades. Happiness.
I weirdly like losing. I like going through the process of trying to win. I think that there should be pain because my ambition is so great. Of course I should have a lot of micro losses. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
You know, you're super motivated, full of optimism. Do you have down days?
Everybody has down days. And I'm so scared to answer truthfully, which is what I always do. It's surprising how not really. I basically feel that down days are saved for the death of people you love. I genuinely believe everything else is at some level controllable. If I was to lose money, if a bad deal happened, if a lot of people, turned on me or made fun of me, for some reason, those things don't bother me as much. The death or terminal illness of 20 or 30 people that matter to me the most, that scares me. That's when I'll have a down day. If you come back here and we're hanging out in 6 years, I would say yes, the day, knock on wood, somebody died, right?
Yeah.
Not getting the deal that I wanted. I'm always optimistic and positive about me. I don't judge myself the way I think most people do. I don't beat myself up when I have a bad hour, day, week, or month. And that's what I think most people do.
When something that really affects you, like during your day, something you've put really a lot of time into, you invested time, energy, money into, and it's not going right.
That to me is part of the game of trying to be successful. You can't control everything. I mean, I've been so right about so many things, and every day I'm in meetings telling people what's about to happen, and they don't believe me. And I'm like, I have 20 plus years of a ridiculous track record. Like a real one now. And still, especially because I talk about things that are not obvious yet or like are here but people think are coming.
So you kind of like minimize it in the grand scheme of things. You're already thinking like long term, bigger picture automatically.
That's really funny the way you said it. It just triggered something in me. When something bad happens, my immediate reaction, and I mean bad, like something that I think would put somebody in a 1 day to 1 week, like a real rut, I immediately go to, well, I'm alive and so are the 10 people I care about. Like literally that big, the end.
Good,
Like, you know how old people are like, to health, and like health is like a,
Yeah.
I actually live it.
Health is wealth.
I actually live it. Plus I weirdly like losing. I like going through the process of trying to win.
You like a bit of pain.
I do, like a little bit of pain. I do like
a struggle,
because I think it's appropriate for my ambition.
Yeah.
Like, I think that there should be pain because my ambition is so great. Of course I should have a lot of micro losses.
Yeah.
Champions lose rounds. They sometimes even lose fights. Muhammad Ali lost 5 times, but he's an all-time legend, or 6,
Yeah.
What was great for me was because I was an entrepreneur, I tested it from the beginning. I was learning at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So by the time I was 22, I was a veteran in my craft. I wasn't just starting. Most people are in school and just start at 22. I was an old player in my game at 22. I've been selling and building businesses my whole life, for real. Like, I know people know my narrative, at least the ones that are watching that know. I don't think they actually really know. Like, I really did business every minute, always, my whole life. It's what I'm passionate about. It's what I loved. In the summer, I chose to wash people's cars for money. I chose. And then you impact, like looking at Jason, who I love so much, like my decision to start a company changed the course of his life. Impact is fun for me. Impact's fun. That's why I do so much content. Like one little Instagram video, right?
Content.
Like the thought that like I made something that got into your head, that brought value, that made you want to meet me. That's cool. That's cool how life works. You're also making gold that has no context for the distribution.
Correct. That's right.
Which is vulnerable at some point. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
I am Paul Daly, aka Paul J. Daly. I'm the founder and CEO of Congruent Creative Agency. So it's been a crazy 6 months since the first meeting with Gary and the mentors. That kind of sounds like a band. You know, although we had a lot of stuff rolling already when we started the mentors program, I can definitely say that the strategic guidance and mentorship that they have given me have really fast-tracked the growth of the agency. Our revenue since the mentors program has almost tripled and our headcount has almost doubled. So it's making a real difference. Look, there have definitely been a number of setbacks since we started the Vayner Mentor program, but the real point is they have been available for us whenever we've hit one to help coach us through it. I can say Vayner Mentors changed my business for the better, continues to improve it for the better, and I think will in the future as well. So here's to the journey.
So what do you see becoming your core product as an agency?
I think our main inroad is going to be through this incoming generation of dealers. There's a lot of transition going on right now who are progressive, who are following you, right? That's the emails you're getting. We need to show them there's a solution that they can bring to dad and say, Dad, we need to do this.
Okay, so it's
What do you think of, so let's talk about that. What do you think, what do you want to sell?
Yeah.
Cool, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Gary, Sasha, right here. We have a dealership. Fucking dad's wasting all his money on TV and radio and doesn't believe in this shit. I want to do it. What, you know, and I know it's early, but what do you think it is?
I want to create a brand and clarify your messaging.
Branding.
Not
I got it.
Branding, messaging, right, and content production. This is how you produce content. How much content?
How much money do you want for that?
I think we could have $100,000 relationships.
Yeah, $250,000 about this. $250,000 to $100,000.
100 to 250 is what you're thinking a year.
And how
as a retainer?
And that's what we're working on.
Yeah,
sure, yeah.
That's what we're here. Listen, that's why we're here.
Yeah, we don't
I'd
have
love
that
to get
answer
away
yet.
from project-based, right? We work with local and national brands to
Honestly, the reason VaynerMedia became a big company fast was we did no project work.
Yeah,
We've layered project work on top now, but I hate it.
Yeah.
So what's the current? You're doing 300,000+ in the business now. What are people paying you for today? This sounds like
on the agency side.
On the agency side,
Yeah.
And why did you project 800?
They're just seeing cool stuff out there. So basically, major global brands are producing amazingly cool stuff. We just started producing cool stuff at a very local level. And people are like, I want that. I want my brand to reflect that. So they call us, hey, we want.
And when you say cool stuff, a video?
Video.
Yeah.
They say,
That's
"We want
fine.
that."
Social media execution, saying like they come in and say, why do you want? Well, we want you to make us a video. We're like, well, why do you want a video? Who's going to watch it? Where's it going to live?
Yeah.
Right. And then we kind of back and they realize, walk out saying, we need a lot more help than just a video.
Yeah, so they hire us for not for one video, but a series of 20 videos, and we execute to that.
Cool videos,
And that's what
cool
they're hiring
media,
us for
cool
today.
photos, cool animations.
So, but you're not doing the media placement, or anything, right? You're doing the creative
very,
production.
very little placement.
Yeah, we brought on Pat, that guy with the orange sweatshirt over there, to do that, to start executing to that, because we give them this piece of gold, and they totally fuck it
Yeah,
up.
they're not gonna know what
Yeah,
to do with that.
yeah.
Exactly.
You're also making gold that has no context for the distribution,
Correct.
That's right.
which is vulnerable at some point.
Let me tell you my personal end game.
Go ahead.
Right.
Well, that's a great way to start.
Yeah.
That's where we should start.
Yeah, and
Which is?
I was kind of ready because you
Yeah.
might ask, so I'll just beat you to it. I want to help people. I want to help people get clarity, right? This was born in Claude's office a year ago. I want to help people with business, with relationships. I understand, right? If you're not making decisions based on clarity, you're just guessing at best. You're guessing a general direction. I think that having an agency leverages my ability to communicate, builds my personal brand, and if I can do it in business, right, I want to keep doing it in business. If it's dealership world for the next 5 years, awesome. That'll give me 20 years in the dealership world.
My blueprint is attractive to you.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's what you're saying.
That's why we're connected. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm doing.
I trust you. That's why I'm like, I don't know how it's going to work out, but I know being closest to this sun is going to help me get there. Because it's the same thing. Like, it's literally when you're talking to that, I'm like, you're talking to me.
100%.
It was so important for the whole team to go, because there's an element of getting close to the sun that I wanted us to experience as a team of creatives. It's one of those things like, we don't know what we don't know. And when you get in an environment that's completely outside your regular life, and you can start to see people operating on a different level, all of a sudden you start to realize, you know what, this is possible.
Let me give you a couple of pieces of advice that I think will really matter. You need to be very, very thoughtful about the products and services you do for this company. Let me give you a great piece of advice. Immediately, from day one, and I know we're kind of in day one, but post-acquisition we're in a new day one, I want you to announce a date for ClarityCon immediately. The thing that you'll learn very quickly, whether you're gonna get your money's worth right this second. Your event business will be more profitable than more fun, more profitable, more impactful for your mission of why from day one. If you're able to do ClarityCon, if you're able to say ClarityCon looks like this, it's a $1,000 ticket, but you also get 30-minute Q&As or 1 hour Q&As on a closed door live stream with me once a month. Got it? And then that all of a sudden becomes also something you get free, that if you're a client of your company, as part of the retainer, I think if you build a model, if I could do it all over again, which is what we're talking about here, knowing your industry enough, you do a $5,000 a month retainer, a strategy retainer, not a creative output, and then a contractual minimal guarantee of another, $5,000 in social media content. Output. So now they're locked in for 120 to even be in your world. And then above and beyond, project work. So it goes five.
I'm gonna come around and hug you in a second.
This is what's good. This is it, man. This is what's good. This is what I would.
And I'm not taking notes because I know Levi is.
So now what you're doing is you're creating perceived value. It's like, okay, cool. I'm getting something that's $1,000, right? I'm getting access to him. You're building that. I'm also, like you're building you're building stairs. You get this, but now it's like, hey, it's $5,000 a month retainer and obligation to do $5,000 a month of output. So they're gonna be like, okay, it's $10,000 a month, right? By saying $5,000 for that and $5,000 you have to buy for output, what you've done is a very good job of not mixing the two. They've now bought into the fact that they're paying you $60,000 a year to be smart. That's a lot of upside for you and your organization long term. That's why I want you to break out that clarity. Because we used to do it as, you're gonna get $10,000 worth of community management and pictures, and you get the value of our strategy, but whenever anything is free, it's free. Got it? So I want you to start with, it's $5,000 a month retainer for strategy and brand positioning. Comma, to even for us to say yes to that, you have to then do another $5,000 in output. And that's where you'll get your pictures and videos and cool stuff. That's your day in and day out. Above and beyond that, you can do one-off videos for your big fall sale. You're sitting on too much inventory, you need an extra boost. Or if you want to go down the path of internal culture, kind of the Claude stuff, fine. You'll decide how you want to build out your company and your services. But I do think at 120 base for thinking and pictures and videos, you're in a really sweet spot to build on top of, along with they get a ticket to ClarityCon, which is $1,000. Anyway, that would be the model I think you need to go with. But I think ClarityCon from day one, when you announce it, we've been bought, and then literally comma, we've been bought, we've got an agency, we've got ClarityCon coming, in fucking wherever, on whatever.
What's realistic that people, what's the attention length that we can actually push that? You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking well, how much time do we have to execute to a conference?
And here's the good news. Here's what's amazing about video, and I think we see it a lot in my internal comms. As long as you're humble and transparent, this can literally, if you make this is how you hedge. It's humility. It's self-deprecation. Let's say you make a video in September, right? Everybody's away for summer, right? You say, guys, ClarityCon, March 2019. Super excited about it. To be very frank, we're gonna start opening up pre-sales and getting a sense. It's a $1,000 ticket. It's also, you get it for free if you're a client of ours. You know, very simply, I have no idea if this is gonna happen in a Dunkin' Donuts or if this is gonna be done at Buffalo Bills Stadium. You know, I think probably more likely Dunkin' Donuts than Buffalo Bills Stadium. But if there's one person that comes or 1 million people that come, we're gonna put on a show. You've now eliminated any expectations. Got it? That's it. Now you're not vulnerable.
Yep.
Now you've taken pressure out of selling it. Now if you sell
So
7.
everything you announce that's going to happen in the meantime, it's an upside. We just, oh, this is actually going to happen.
That's exactly right.
This is locked.
That's right. And I just think
We locked Gary Vaynerchuk. Can you believe it?
Yeah. Oh, and you're only in 150,000 in the hole, you know. But by the way,
that would be yours. So.
But by the way, you know, like it's really right for you. You'll win that game. You've got all these personalities that you've been able to get into your ecosystem. You'll be able to call in favors. Like, you're gonna put on a real show and it can become a real thing. And what's great about ClarityCon is maybe year 1 it's a little bit more towards that world, but to your why and where you're going, you'll be able to expand outside. It's agnostic.
It's that, man.
Proud of you, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
I think it's really important to say that the value of this program is not just Gary, but it is the team that he's assembled. And I think he'd be happy to hear me say that. But for real, the Mentors team is accessible and ready and willing to help whenever we have a setback. There was this sense of like, we're about to take the first steps on a trip that we're gonna talk about for a long time. It was this knowledge that like, I don't know what we're gonna learn. I don't know what we're gonna do from here on out, but I know it's gonna be meaningful, and I know it's going to be one of those moments that we look back on and say, can you imagine if we hadn't done this?
The amount of people in here that have a job they hate and they buy things they don't care about to impress people they don't give a fuck about scares the shit out of me.
Many of us have to do things that we don't actually like or love, but deep inside we have something that we really want to do, but we cannot do because of the responsibilities, and you know, we have to have a stable income, we have to do something because we have to, and blah blah blah. The question is, what are the 3 activities, 3 main goals that you have to set in order to move a step closer towards doing something that you actually love?
So it's a really interesting question, and as I was listening, and I hope people are paying attention, most people spend money on dumb things, which then forces them to do things they don't want. So step number 1 for most people in here, they should sell their home, take the money, and go rent. They should return their BMW and get a Toyota. And that's why, and honestly, that becomes the vulnerability. Why do you own a BMW?
Because I love the car, just the brand, and I love driving it, so I don't know.
So to me, that's where it gets interesting, right? Do you, or do you like what the brand does to make you look to other people? I don't know, I'm not assuming, I don't know. I know I have a point, I don't know you, but I know in the macro that 98% of people that buy a Mercedes or BMW likes when it makes other people think of them, not that they like it. And that $487 a month versus what they really need, which is $100 a month, is why they have a job they hate, because they're paying for a life that means nothing. The amount of people in here that have a job they hate and they buy things they don't care about to impress people they don't give a fuck about scares the shit out of me. Entrepreneurship is hard and lonely. If you look at the current state of social media, you would think that 98% of the time in entrepreneurship, it's sunny and rosy and fun, when in reality it's the reverse. The reality is, most people spend a lot of their times day in and day out in dark clouds, not sunshine. When you own your own business, everything is your own fault. You are basically in the business of putting out negative fires. Disproportionately, our time is spent in navigating or anticipating dark clouds. It's not glamorous, it's not getting the accolades of selfies and being there. It's not the big time meetings with the biggest companies in the world. It's just hardcore dirt. And I think that anybody that doesn't realize that is not building an actually successful business. They're living in a fake environment, or they're naive and they don't realize it's coming. The percentage of successful entrepreneurs, ones that can make a living and live their lives on their own back, not in a company structure, is quite low. We are in the firefighter business. A person who lives their life every day of anxiety, of knowing they are the last line of defense. It's not glamorous, it's hard. The sunshine's seductive, right? That's why these people become losers. I'm in LA, I'm going to Complex Con. I got my new K-Swiss sneaker dropping, and I'm doing a talk with Karen Civil and Drama and a couple others. So just rolling through LA, and then I'm taking the red eye home.
Please, bro, you don't stop, dog. You just keep going.
Hello, it's good to see you, man. I'll see you in a little bit. What up?
Man, thank you so much.
Everybody wanted to be an astronaut one day. Like every kid that I'm looking at, these good-looking kids, they all wanted to be astronauts and pilots in 1957.
What do they want to be now?
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my moment. And by the way, it'll be fun, and in 9 years the world will melt. Everybody will not be an entrepreneur anymore. It won't be cool. They'll blame entrepreneurship for the melt, and I'll still be an entrepreneur. Because that's what I've always been, that's what I am now, and that's what I'll be to the last breath. Trinidad James. What's up, my dude?
What's up, brother? You good?
Good, yeah.
Come on, man.
Nice to meet you,
Nice to meet
Roderick,
you.
man. Nice to meet
It's
you,
a real
man.
pleasure, man. Keep doing your thing.
Good work.
Yeah, thank you, man. You
boys
too.
in the Swiss.
Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it. I like the green. Makes me feel very Jets.
Come on, Jet,
very
man.
New York Jet.
G-E-T-S.
Yo, give me this.
Jets. Let's go, baby.
That's a lifestyle.
Gary.
My dude. I love that dude.
Big fan, bro.
Thank you, dude.
I've known you for like 3 years.
Yep.
I'm messing with Filet, and the way I connected with him was through your DM advice and all that.
You've got to be fulfilled with your process, not what you're trying to get out of your process. If you do something trying to get something out of your process, you will always lose because you're going to be impatient. You're like, why don't I have a fat watch or 1 million followers yet? Yeah. Because that's the only reason you're doing it. When you do something for the second thing, not the thing, you're always vulnerable.
Pardon me, y'all. Pardon me.
Break one.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, my dude.
How you doing, man?
How are you, man?
Pleasure.
It's a real pleasure for me, man.
Much love.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you,
Keep doing your thing, dude.
We're getting into the wine business.
Respect.
Yo, let me help.
Yo,
Hit me up with that. I can.
love this one.
I can really help. Hit me with that. Seriously, hit me up. I'll help. All right? Okay.
Much love,
See you.
man.
Great to see you, my dude. You too. Hey, man. Good to see you. How you been?
I got you, bro. Good, man.
Good, man. Real pleasure.
Look at Instagram every day.
Dude, good to see you.
Man.
A lot of people are making $86,000 a year at a job they hate. Imagine making $79,000 a year selling something you love. That doesn't mean that you're going to own Ferraris and 16 homes, but happiness needs to be the agenda. 3 to 6 p.m. I'll be downstairs.
Get up.
Gary. All right, what Gary?
I
gotta go.
We gotta go.
All right. You got it. I'm downstairs.
Thanks, guys. Give me a second.
Real pleasure. Hey, that's all. You were there?
Of course.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Good to see you. How'd you like it?
That was awesome.
It was good?
Yeah.
How do you get to that mindset?
To who?
To the world. I mean, not even that. Nobody can say, not my parents, just everyone.
By just recognizing that it's the place of ultimate strength. By like just really talking to yourself every day and not overjudging yourself. By realizing that that gives you the biggest chance to happiness. The reason I didn't care being 29 in my dad's liquor store packing boxes, not having any money, was because I didn't care what anybody thought about me.
Fair enough.
I practiced. I practiced it.
Alright, I hear you.
You understand?
It, man.
We gotta roll.
Alright, let's go.
Yeah, we gotta do it.
Guys, we'll see you later.
Cool. Alright, guys. How are you, son?
Guys, it looks great.
Podcast, dude. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, bitch.
Thank you.
Wanted to say hi to you.
Too heavy, man.
What up?
Oh my God, GaryVee.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey.
Oh, I take a picture.
Thank you, brother. What up, baby? Thank you, my dude.
Every morning, man, you mean a lot. You help me through a lot, man.
I mean, the next step is whatever's on my mind at that moment that makes me happy. 100,000%. Of course. Thank you, darling. What up, my dog? Complex Con is a physical manifestation of the current state of the culture. Like, this is the current version of the baseball card shows I did when I was 14. The flipping mentality, people want to kill each other just to get that thing to make a couple bucks or to get that fresh stuff. It's the pulse of the reality of the youth.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. What's your name?
Jonathan.
Nice to meet you, bro. You look real fresh, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. You having a good time?
Yeah.
You like Wu-Tang Clan? Good, man. Thanks, man. Take care.
The number one reason people fail.
Entitlement.
Yeah.
Lack of self-awareness.
Right.
And number one, making excuses, which come from the first two things.
In 2013, you sent me coffee at Lyft via Twitter. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Dude.
That's amazing. Complex Con, I love you for the culture. Thank you so much. Real quick. Hey Tara, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, you're serious, huh?
That whole crew, it's amazing, man. Proud of you. Finally, my dog.
Finally, bro.
Finally.
I see you every day, but you know.
You too, my dude. I got so much love for you, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you,
Keep doing, man. We need to chop. We need to sit down and have dinner for real.
Yeah, absolutely.
You been well? How's it been going?
Amazing, bro. We just landed, but I'm so grateful, bro.
How long are you in town?
I'm leaving on Monday.
Nice.
Yeah, we're gonna be here staying here Long Beach. How are you, bro?
So good, man.
Bro,
so good, man.
It's always a pleasure. You know, I always say what you do.
I see it. I see it. Same, man. I love everything, man.
Good.
Hey, I got you 24/7.
Thank you. I'm gonna send you a DM and send me your phone number.
Okay.
All right, my dude. Thank you, my dude.
Bye, guys. Have a good time. How are you?
Good.
Oh my God. I'm glad you're here. Let's go.
Big fan, man. Great content. Great content.
Thank you, bro. Take care. There you have it. Complex Con. We came through hard and we did it. Saw the culture, tasted it, brought as much value as I could, and loved it. We love you, Complex Con. We'll see you next year.
Hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, real quick. If you're a purebred entrepreneur, you love the dark clouds. You understand that the fake entrepreneurship era we live through loves the sunshine when it's good and happy and easy. But if it's in your DNA, if you actually are an entrepreneur, you know exactly why the upcoming era of dark clouds is going to be very important, because at the end of the day, this is a game based on merit. And if you don't know how to navigate those storms, you can't be an all-time entrepreneur. I love the dark clouds because they're part of the process. And I will be historically correct. I cannot wait to read your article in 37 years and say, see, this is what I said. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? Hey, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. How are you?
I'm good, Gary. How are you?
Very good.
Thank you for calling me.
Thanks for the interest.
So, I don't know how much you've been apprised of the story I'm working on.
I have a good sense. I also weirdly without knowing the timing where we got together, got into a little bit of a Twitter conversation last night. So I'm I'm aware of what we're talking about, and I've been paying attention very closely for a very long time.
Oh, great. So yeah, that was kind of a funny timing with that too. You know, if you were given, if Mike Trout came into your office and said, you know, I want you to make me a household name, I want you to make me Twitter famous, what would you tell him?
I would start with a series of questions for about 15 to 20 minutes, because you have to reverse engineer someone who's actually busy and famous. You have to reverse engineer their DNA. So for example, Mike could have those ambitions, yet may feel uncomfortable in being out there because he may think it's bragging because that's just his DNA. And I would explain, fine, maybe the format that we need to put you in is a podcast where you feel more comfortable because you're shooting the shit with friends, and that's how we're gonna be able to create content. Some people are super comfortable running around Earth taking selfies, and that's where they create content. Other people, look at myself. I'm busy. I'm running an actual company that's big. I don't, even though I have a huge audience and have made myself quote unquote big by having somebody film me at all times to create content to be distributed. So the first thing that has to happen is there's a very big DNA trait difference in all these people. I would try to figure out how to create content in a world where he was comfortable in doing that, because most people feel like they don't have the time, or ironically, even though they're in the public eye, don't like it for many different reasons. Skeletons in the closet, not their DNA trait, they were taught to be humble by their grandpa. Like there's a million reasons why. But I would ask him a series of questions that put me in a situation that allowed me to create content out of, and preferably in video form, which would then feed written and audio form in the way that I think about it.
If you can, you know, sort of walk me through what personality traits align with what format?
I think the more extroverted you are, the more video, vlogging, or having actually somebody follow you around with a camera, which takes a lot of internal understanding to be okay with that, because it could come across, you know, like being a charlatan, or it's a real personality trait, which I have a lot of empathy. You know, when I started doing that 3 years ago, I knew that it was going to be like frowned upon, but now it's happening at scale on YouTube in its most basic form. Extrovert, video and pictures. Introvert, it's being recorded behind the scenes, manifesting as audio and written.
How much do you work with particular individuals, and how much do you work with brands?
So we work more with brands at VaynerMedia, and I do, but with individuals, we have a division called Vayner Talent where we have 12, 13 clients that we do this with. And then as a human being, I'm spending quite a bit of time with awfully famous individuals off the record in giving them my points of view on how they could do better on social, is how they say it, but it's far more holistic than that. It's being a media entity.
When you're working with brands, is there a type of brand that you see perhaps aligning with Mike Trout, you know, and his characteristics as an athlete and a person?
You know, whether it's performance-based because he's a super athlete, or back to the point of it, he's so not out there or super extroverted. I'm sure law firms and banks and insurance companies and, you know, professional service companies would love to have a clean-faced, clean record, super athlete, you know, nice boy be the face of their brand.
Especially in a sport like baseball, where, you know, there's not as much focus on the individual as there is in the NBA, where you have someone whose personality is not obviously outsized, it's a heavier lift. Has that been true in your experience?
I think that is I think you just walked into the much, much, much bigger problem at hand for baseball. I don't believe that that is a product of anything other than the way Major League Baseball has handled themselves versus the NBA. I mean, Reggie Jackson had a candy bar in 1977. Let's not get confused what's happening here. What's happening here is that Major League Baseball a decade ago decided to make short-term economics by creating BAM, their media group, so that they can control all the short-term dollars at the detriment of being everywhere where people are and building up their individuals. They've suffocated the creativity in a digital environment over the last decade. There's plenty of personalities in baseball. The way that the teams have to do their creative in social media and the way that you can't find any baseball content on the internet unless Major League Baseball is making a piece of that action through their accounts has created a culture of suppression of personal brands. I mean, literally to the point of a fan of Colton Wong creating content on Instagram potentially is going to be taken down by Major League Baseball. Yeah. Steph Curry was built not only by Steph Curry and by the NBA, Steph Curry was built by the fans creating content of Steph Curry in the trenches where attention actually is. There was plenty of interest in Derek Jeter and A-Rod in real life. Bryce Harper is loaded with everything that you'd be interested in. It's suppressed out of him systematically.
So if you were commissioner for a day, what would you change about the league's approach to digital?
I would open up the communistic point of view dramatically and have far more partnerships and leeway with the actual audience, and I would disproportionately be petrified that 6 to 13-year-olds in America consider Messi, Ronaldo, LeBron Curry, and Ninja the Fortnite player way more famous than any single baseball player on earth. That is going to play itself out in an extremely negative way in a 40-year window. And like every other business on earth, baseball decided to treat digital for short-term money instead of long-term IP and success and brand.
I mean, the thing is, like, I think about baseball fandom as, oh, it gets passed down, you know, from fathers to sons, and you root for, you know, a particular team. And if that skipped a generation, or if that is skipping a generation, you know, is that salvageable?
It's not. They're going to take the short term. They're going to take the short. It's funny how I think about short term. I was literally about to say they take the short term loss, which is actually a 30-year window. It's salvageable if they start now with, you know, fathers and sons, mothers and daughters interested in baseball having the ability to pass it on in a YouTube, Snapchat app. You know, how baseball said, you're going to consume us the way we baseball want, not the way you want. And the problem for them is it was great for the short term, you know, and it looked great, like they're making all this money, but what they did was fundamentally destroyed the 50-year window of their sport in a real way. People are unbelievably naive how this is going to play out. It's an incredible sport to take the family out for the day. That's nice. So is soccer during the same time of year. Like, this is not going to work out for baseball in a 50-year window, and it starts with, do you care? And I think that the answer is no, I do not believe so. I couldn't be more down on baseball 35 years from now based on what they're doing now. Kids are not growing up with baseball cards like they did. Their attention's in different places. There's new alternatives. Like, everyone's like, well, it's a great summer night. Well, guess what? Do you know what every 8 to 13-year-old in America is doing on summer nights right now? They're staying inside and playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
So I don't care that you're good for the outside. If nobody's going outside, you're finished. And guess what? I think people need a history lesson. Boxing and horse racing were the most popular sports along with baseball in this country in 1920, 30, and 40. And they were radio sports. That's why. And then television came along, and football and basketball were television sports. And guess what? They've benefited. And guess what? Now we're in a digital world, and that's who's going to benefit, aka esports, aka things like the NBA that understand how to manipulate it. And you know who's going to lose? baseball. You know why? Because they make an extra $100 million in little pennies and nickels in ads on their channels that they rev share with YouTube or Facebook, yet nobody's going there and it's not cultural and nobody gives a crap. And then classic NHL, that's always been bad, decides to sign up with BAM. I mean, talk about a sport that's barely holding on to relevance. And so what they did was literally go into the same drug and sign up with BAM Media, which is devastating to me because I adore hockey. Super hard to get excited about something if you can't see it. And I don't want to hear like, well, players have accounts on social. They sure do. But when the team's content is sucked into being controlled by the organization, like it doesn't fester a culture. The Padres don't have a culture of creating content that's really progressive because it's part of the BAM machine. So they're sucking off the teeth of BAM, and so then all of a sudden, if there's not a culture inside the organization, well, the players don't feel a natural kinship towards that. And it's crazy because baseball's super culture. Matt Kemp dated Rihanna. Like they have nothing but ammo culturally. You know what I mean?
No, and I mean they've certainly succeeded, and I mean maybe there's some pushback, but I do think baseball has succeeded in making it seem like the players' problem as opposed to the league's problem.
So to me, that's a really great conversation, because anytime a leader says their employees are at fault, they're in the beginning of the process of the end.
Yeah.
The utter lack of accountability is laughable. Baseball took the money in the short term in digital, and they destroyed the long-term value of the entire thing because of it. The end. And I will be historically correct. I cannot wait to read your article in 37 years and say, see, this is what I said.
Do you think, though, even in that climate, there's a way for players to break through as personalities?
I do. Yes, of course I do. But it is so much more in the vested interest of the teams than it is for the players. The players are there for 3 to 12 years. The teams are trying to do it in perpetuity. But what you had was a bunch of old owners take the cash. Because when you're owned by 32 people that are of the ages of 59 as the youngster to 92, you take the short-term economics. Please understand my energy. I'm angry at the owners for not holding up the sanction of baseball for the long term for their selfish short-term financial wants. So yes, do I think Aaron Judge could do anything and everything? Of course I do. But I do think, maybe because I am a CEO and like being a leader, that you need to create the environment for people to flourish. And I do not believe baseball has done that digitally, contemporarily, or, you know, the end. I mean, what's baseball doing about it? What are we doing with all the, where is all that money going? Aaron Judge makes a lot of money, a lot. And he can hire a social media person. Cool. The Dodgers make a lot of money. Where's it going?
Yeah.
Like, where is it going? And so the utter lack of investment in the long-term IP of the asset you own only speaks to my confidence in my bravado on this subject matter. And by the way, here's the point of this. There'll be plenty of people that read this or watch this that are going to disagree with me because you don't see it happening until it's too late.
Right.
People are going to tweet at me and be like, Gary, you're an idiot. Attendance is up. Okay. Guess what? Most companies that go out of business have their best year before the beginning of the end. When I was saying Toys R Us was out of business, people shit on me left and right because they pointed to the numbers of the sales. I was like, that's cute, but you don't understand that they're not positioned for the future. Let's talk real life. If you're an 86-year-old owner and if you're even smart enough to realize what's happening, and you're saying, but I'm making so much more economics on the digital rights, and my kids aren't going to be left with this anyway because of the way tax is work and inheritance tax, and so I'm going to leave this bag on the next done dope. That's really what's happening. Mm-hmm. The 88-year-old owner is saying, I don't give a fuck about the Angels. I care about me. And I care about my kids, but I'm not going to leave it to them anyway because they can't pay the inheritance tax, so they're going to sell it, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't care about baseball in 2063. I genuinely believe that's what's happening with and listen carefully, with the most intelligent of owners. The dopey owners don't even realize it's happening because they so disrespect where the attention of the consumer actually is. Why did wrestling get big in the 80s? Because Vince McMahon knew where the kids' attention was, and if you put wrestling on Saturday morning, and if you put wrestling on MTV, then people care. All that the internet is now, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, podcasts, that is MTV.
I think there are a lot of baseball writers whose retort is sort of along the lines of, well, if you can't appreciate what's so great about Mike Trout, then hell with you anyway.
That's great. That's what everybody says before they go out of business.
Right.
Right. If you don't love my product, well then you're an idiot. Cool. The market is always right. I massively appreciate, do you know how big of a boxing fan I am? Like, it's called the sweet science. It is one of the most fascinating things for me to watch, right? Here's the problem. Yeah. When it all went pay-per-view and nobody could see it on free TV, everybody lost the appreciation because they didn't see it. There's a very specific reason soccer's happened in America more than it's ever had before. It's called FIFA, the video game, and it's called English Premier League games are actually on television in the morning on Saturday.
Yeah.
This is not complicated. This is what I do for a living. It's called attention. And Major League Baseball has absolutely dropped the ball over the last decade on attention, and they will feel the ramifications over the next half century.
We've gotten a little bit away from Mike Trout.
But I think to your point, I think you can sense it. It's super important because it's not about Mike Trout, because then you can absolutely make this a very narrow argument about one man's personality. This is epidemic. This is how do we get to this moment? Because I'm sure you agree with me that, you know, there are tons of guys in the league that have nothing. I mean, do you know how much money I could make Aaron Judge just on the gap in between his two front teeth from a business standpoint? You need to make that, you know, you need to make that cultural. Jose Altuve is 5'5". Like, everything that everybody says to why, you know, why Steph Curry is so culturally amazing because everybody feels they can be him. Jose Altuve is a Latino who's 5'5". That is unbelievably at scale in America, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are ridiculous conversations. You know, Matt Kemp dates models. Like, there's plenty of things to be done. Javier Baez has more personality in his left pinky than most athletes in America.
Right.
Right? I mean, that hasn't even gotten into the fact that 38% of these dudes are strikingly handsome, and if you just take their shirt off and put it on Instagram, lots of good shit will happen.
The thing is, like, and it did cross my mind when I was conceiving of this story, because they said, well, okay, so Trout's not famous, but then really, like, if you look around the game, maybe Harper and Justin Verlander, because he dates Kate Upton, or I guess married Kate Upton, are famous, but I don't really know. You know, David Ortiz was famous; he's retired. It's hard to see.
Yeah, and meanwhile, you've got so much. Look, when we're having a marketing discussion, not an on-the-field discussion, right? One of the best baseball players in the world plays in Boston, and his name is Mookie.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, there's so much. Scooter Gennett is Scooter, nice guy in a nice market. There's so much to do with him. I mean, look, I really know baseball. Like, I'm not pontificating from.
No, I know. If you know Scooter Gennett, you know baseball.
I drafted Scooter Gennett 2 years ago when he got cut by the Brewers because I knew how good of a prospect he was. Like, I really know baseball. Like, I really know baseball. I'm not even talking about culturally. But, like, you give me Manny Machado, forget about getting traded to the Dodgers and now he's in LA. You give me him in Baltimore, I'll make him a real celebrity. I've made myself a bigger celebrity than these guys. I'm a 42-year-old businessman. Let's talk about another thing. Back to, you know, whether it's Segura or whether it's, you know, Baez or Altuve or Eddie Rosario, who's exploding. Another guy drafted 3 years ago, by the way, for $1 in my fantasy league. I mean, America has never been more Latin, has never been more Latino, Hispanic, has never been more, especially at the youth, and baseball is the most Hispanic Latino in our country. This is they're not putting out content where people actually live, and that's it. It's as simple as that. They don't have a culture of it. They took the short game, and they will pay the price. Can I throw another thing at you, because I think it adds to the Mike Trout conversation, because it uses Bryce Harper, who I think is always the fun kind of, right? That's the fun conversation with those two.
Right.
I mean, would you not agree with this? I believe baseball as a platform has sucked the star power and charisma out of Bryce Harper that he naturally came in with.
Explain more.
Sure. Let's think about Bryce Harper's personality 6 or 7 years ago. I think people are going to talk about, well, he grew up, and that's why he's not acting as,
Yeah.
Right. I say not true. I say he's been suppressed by the culture of.
I think that's possible, although again, that's something where you don't know whether that's coming from the leagues or from the clubhouses.
I couldn't agree more. You could have a 41-year-old catcher that puts a hand on a kid and says, "Yo, kid, shut the fuck up," right? I have a funny feeling. I have a funny feeling if Major League Baseball had a culture where a 41-year-old catcher could make $300,000 off the field because he's a personality, that you would see things change systematically.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. I think, as you can tell, I'm not naive to this. This is something I'm very passionate about and know a lot of the nuances. I'm speaking to, it's Major League Baseball as the organization's requirement to create a culture of fame and fun and contemporary executions that would then over time trickle down to.
It's so funny because I was at the game yesterday in an elevator with Rob Manfred. I wish I had just I wish I had talked to you before. You yelled at him.
I mean, look, listen, I have unbelievable amounts of respect for the point of view. I just unbelievably disagree. And he is the employee of owners, so he runs the company line. But it is very clear that they took the short money and ran with it, and they will be the generation that made baseball culturally irrelevant.
Well, and this is a little bit off, but perhaps relevant. You know, I remember an old boss of mine used to kind of make the argument that the whole steroid saga was such a mistake because it resulted in the commissioner and ownership demonizing the biggest stars of the game, and making them into pariahs, and consequently maybe you see, you know,
baseball in the two examples that you just said, and it's an interesting thought, and I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it, so as you can see, I'm passionate when I've thought a lot, and I get a little more quiet. But if, let's say we agreed, after, and I'm gonna let that marinate for a month, and I'll text you and be like, you were right. Let's say we agree. You know what that speaks to? Another example when baseball's not taking on its responsibility and throwing it on the player. Yesterday, it's the player's fault that he's not more famous. I need him to tango with me. Are you kidding me with the steroid era? You're absolutely right, actually. It didn't take me very long to marinate. They threw their players under the bus. I want one common sense individual to sit down with me and tell me they didn't know what was going on.
Right.
Here's my problem. Parents love to shit on millennials without recognizing they're the ones who created them.
Yeah.
The utter lack of accountability against their own stars is devastating to me. Baseball's very good at not taking on accountability. It's time it does, and they better move quickly, because very quickly people are going to be watching video game players throw swords at each other instead of baseballs and hitting with bats. Very quickly.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's already happened. Now it's, can they start the process of unwinding it? Because the days of baseball cards in your bike spokes are over.
Yeah. No, I mean it's absolutely true, and it's just like if they can't make a generation of young players this talented and this distinctive,
it's over.
Yeah,
it's over. And you know what? For them, you know, the audacity to make Mike Trout the part of the conversation when he's everything you'd ever want, right?
Right.
Like, my great goal in life is Mike Trout is the kind of guy my daughter marries. So the fact that they're willing to go, like, have we gotten to that place where now that's who they're willing to subtly throw under the bus? Because don't get it twisted, that's exactly what he did yesterday.
Yeah. No, and like, I mean, I'm just thinking now, you know, if you've ever spent any time around like Francisco Lindor or something, and, you know, I've probably talked to the guy 15 minutes total in my life, but how is that guy not, you know,
You're preaching. And guess what? It's baseball's job when fucking LeBron's there during their World Series run to get LeBron with Lindor in a picture and all over social media. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is doing a better job hacking culture than the entire Major League Baseball machine. Where's the money going? They're not reinvesting in their business. They're sucking it dry, and they will pay the price.
Yep.
Period, end of story. Period, end of story. Every other conversation is the micro and is fundamentally irrelevant to the actual thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Cool, I gotta go.
Yeah, this was awesome, man.
Thank you, man.
So much.
Take care.
All right, bye.
That's a lesson for everybody in everything in life. The number one reason I push patience is because patience will give you the air cover to take risk. If you realize how, I mean, do you know what I wish for all of you 25-year-olds in here? That you knew how young you feel at 40. Because 40's fucking old to you. I was just there. And news alert, you're gonna kind of feel exactly the same. And when you understand that, and then once you go insular, one of the reasons maybe I've never had a mentor is because I don't value anybody else's opinion more than my own. And it's a very, and I'll tell you why that's important. Because if I lose, then I deserve it. Because then if I win, I deserve it. But the way to really eliminate fear is by not giving a fuck about anybody's opinion. My losses are mine. I'll deal with them myself. I don't need your 2 cents. You're losing plenty on your own. That patience and inner voice makes you unbeatable. It's crazy how I feel my whole life. Never had peer pressure. Never did anything, ever, that I didn't want to do. Because I just didn't value somebody else's opinion over mine. And that comes from good parenting, circumstance, DNA, a million fucking things. I don't know how to teach that. What I'm just trying to do is, I'm trying to become, in a weird way, I like being popular because I become your courage. I think the most flattering thing that's happening to me in my life is I'm becoming people's courage. Because when they take risk and they take ridicule, they point to me. And then I tell their parents to go fuck themselves. And it's a very, very, very interesting, if you look, like, I don't know how deep any of you are in my content. I know you are, John. Like, that is what I'm doing. That is what I'm doing. And it's a very good feeling. I feel very happy because I think I'm bringing people value. Because let me tell you what's way more scary than failure. Regret. You just don't know it yet. Regret is fucking poison. And you start feeling it when you can't do anything about it. And I have a funny feeling when you're 65, you don't feel that much different than 40, you don't feel that much different than 25. The problem is you're starting to run out of time. Got it? But I agree with you. The relationship with parenting and the conservative nature of the culture leads to a lot of that, which is too bad, because you think you're doing your parents a favor by appeasing them, but later in life you're gonna really be mad at them and resent them, and it's not gonna play out. I don't think there's anything wrong with chasing money. I just think that it's usually the quickest way not to get it. Did you consider not going as rogue as quitting and going all in? Did you consider the practicality of 6 p.m. to 3 in the morning? No. I'm actually just curious. There's no judgment or like, I'm only collecting data because I'm fascinated by the practicality of it and the fear that I have when people make, I want everybody to do what you did if they can do it. And my fear is a lot can't, and that there's a more practical way than going from 0 to 100, though some people have to go 0 to 100 because if they're half pregnant, they'll never do it. It's this completely interesting matrix, right?
Gary, they
Please.
Can't or they won't.
There's a lot of things going on. I think first of all, the reason I push so much on judgment is the biggest fear I have is that he won't, because you know, one of the things when I look at them, it's interesting, I'm like, oh, it's good, because I wonder how much she's driving, hyping him to get the team there. Like, you need optimism and hype to jump. Like, guys, kissing a girl or boy, jumping in, riding a bike, going in a pool, I've become fascinated with these 3 events as children, because if you really look at it, it's hype. Like, I remember hyping buddies in 6th grade, be like, dude, you can kiss her. Like, hyping. Like hyping, or when like looking at friends, or the hype I needed to like, I was scared shitless to swim or ride a bike, or like hype, like taking a jump. You know, at the same token, like, you know, like sometimes the dude went in for the kiss and she rejected him and he was crippled for a decade. You know, a lot of people will fail in business, and so I'm unbelievably, you 30 years ago had no choice, you had to jump. You do have a choice now, depending on the business you choose. If you open a health and wellness and gym, if you open a gym, you physically got to be there. You can't. But if you're doing, you know, if you're doing content or information, or you could use content to set up a grand opening that will win in 3 years, it's asked literally just for data of how you got there. The other thing I'm a very big believer in is getting people to not feel like it's a scarlet letter if they lose. Something nobody talks about at all is your scenario. You jump, it fails, you reset and go back and get a job in the craft that you had because of your resume, and you restart in 4 years from now. America's pretty good at looking at losses in a positive way compared to other parts of the world where it's like a true scarlet letter, death forever. But still, even here, you know, people don't know when to go back from their jump because they don't want the loss on the resume. They made the big to-do that you're gonna do it. Now it doesn't work, and what they do is they triple down into debt to look good in front of people.
But what if it did and you never jumped to find out?
Oh, you're preaching. That I want. You've already done that. I'm actually talking about the next part, which is having the options to know that the game is super long, and that if the business, you know, when you go from ice cold, when you go from never having a business to having a business, that's like literally asking me, I'm asking you to right now qualify for Wimbledon in tennis. It's a lot harder than people think. You're grown, you two are grown. I'm not trying to suppress, by the way, I'm talking about the practicality of like options. I love that we live in a world, I'm trying to get people to like really understand how to win this. So much of my success is completely predicated on not worrying about all my losses, which means at times, you know, my great losses are the things I passed on. Maybe I should have done Shark Tank. Maybe not. I don't think I should have done it. Not this late in. I think I'll do my own thing. Like, you know, like, but fuck, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I didn't invest in Uber when I could have made $400 million. I mean, that's a loss. But like, all the things that I've done are things that I can't see what the outcome. Let me tell you how the Uber thing might have not been a loss. On black and white paper, if I gave Travis the money like I always was doing at that time, I would have made $300, $400 million on paper. What if I had invested in Uber and that led me to giving a speech in India based on it, right? And I got hit by a bus and died. Like, people are just so, like they don't understand how life, like I'm so happy right now, how could I possibly, you know, look like you don't know what life's gonna bring you, right? Life's complicated and way more matrixed out. And that's why, you know, I'm gonna start pushing this. I said it for the first time really heavily up there, like the ROI, winning in life is happiness, not money. People are just so, you know? Like what I'm most happy about is if you just love the process. Like loving the process, like loving the debates in the kitchen. If you can get to, like, that's what.
What about separating that though?
It's great, I believe you. Your vibes seem good. Like, you know, like I think that's huge. To me, it's time and talent. The reason I love hard work is it's controllable. It's hard for me to be like, be more talented. You know, that seems like when people are like, you push hard, you know, a lot of politically correct, you know, over extreme European points of view get mad at me for, Gary, it's unhealthy. You can't, Gary V, you can't go to the grave with all your money. I'm like, dude, I'm not talking about money. And I don't feel like it's work when I love it. Like maybe you don't like your job as much. Like,
is it wrong to be driven by money? Is it wrong to?
I don't think I can judge anything. I think the question becomes what the next thing is. To me, it's like, what?
It's a vehicle.
Correct. Correct, but I also think that people confuse the vehicle then. So I think people don't often get the right vehicle for their destination. You're right, it's a vehicle. Now my question is, what's your destination? And if you told me it was down the street, I'd tell you to fucking walk, not drive a Lamborghini. So I don't think it's an evil or it's wrong. I think people are confused to why they try to amass it and for what. Like, how much do you want to make? It's arbitrary. What's it based on? Like, we have to unwind what's been pushed in our heads. You know, 20, 50, 72, 4, 9, 6, what? To me, my big one is, can I do what I want to do every day? I was doing that running the liquor store and I was making 57. I was happy as fuck. I'm no more happy today than I was at 22. I was pumped. I was on a mission to build a family business so big so that everybody on earth would always say I did the right thing by my parents in the way they did to me. I don't think there's anything wrong with chasing money. I just think that it's usually the quickest way not to get it. I really believe that. I really do. I think when I watch people that are driven by money, I see a lot of unhappiness and failure. It's very common. I think the question is why? What do you need? And do you have a sense of that? Because by the way, it evolves. What he needed at 24 is different than what he needs now. And him and me, and you know, so it evolves too. If we did the happy meter here, it's the people that are, I promise you, it's the people that are doing what they want to be doing. Like to me, I couldn't explain to you enough, and I have utmost empathy for the cynicism around this statement. It's unbelievable how much I don't like money. I like the game. I love my game. I love the game of building shit. It's why building, you know, a legacy is the best, because it's like triple compounding valuable, right? I love the admiration. I talk a lot about loving Rocky VI because he goes back to not having anything. I talk about it a lot. It's the same reason I was selling baseball cards on Saturday. I was selling baseball cards on Twitter on Saturday for 50 bucks for a stack of cards. I love the game of growing. You know, like to me, the best part is the beginning. I love the thrill of the chase. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and go garage sailing because there's nothing like pulling up. Literally to this day, I can't replicate the high of going to a garage sale, walking into a yard of junk and finding something for $1 that I know I can sell on eBay for 17 bucks is a bigger happiness high than closing a $6 million account for Vayner. And it's not even close. That's what I want for everybody because that's how they get to 20. I believe that. I really do. So I think the fear I have with chasing money is its short-term behavior. And it leads to a lot of like negativity, even for the people that achieve it. That's why optimism or offense works. You know, it does. But I do think you need to be thoughtful about the chasing the money thing. It will lead to a loss in the macro. I believe that. I could be wrong, but that is my official point of view. And I've watched it way too much. The conversation that has not happened yet in society is that happiness is the ROI, not a fucking BMW and a mansion. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy? My accountant, my friends that kind of know 2 or 3, like, people are, you definitely know, like, it's stupid how much no money I make on this place. It's you would shit. I'll make more speaking in Orlando next week. I mean, like, you can't imagine, because I know what it looks like at the end. If you literally think money is gonna unlock your happiness, you're a fucking idiot. I live in a very nice apartment in New York City, very, very nice. I'm very blessed, but like, compared to my status and things I could be doing, and like just like but I could make that $20 million commitment and it would be awesome. I want a duplex, I want outdoor space, I'd like to have like a 2nd floor. Like, I'm just so aware how right this is. This is why it's so important to figure out what you want to happen. I would never be running this company if what I didn't want to happen is to buy the New York Jets. Like, I've got to eat a lot of crow in the prime of my career with unlimited opportunities to build this steel and concrete, to build these big buildings. If I wanted to just build a nice ranch, you know, I wouldn't have done this. Pour concrete and build steel. Don't worry about putting fucking curtains or what color to paint the room. I keep asking it in different ways in now our 2nd meeting. I really want to get a sense of like how long you want to go, because I want to give you the best advice. You should live a 50 to 75% less bougie, fun life for the next 3 to 5 years, and you will have in perpetuity 20x what you could have accomplished if you're willing to make that commitment. I believe that.
How long can you sustain what you're doing right now?
In perpetuity.
You sure?
Yeah. Because I have so much.
You can fly city to city.
I can for now, but here's the thing. I believe, but here's what's amazing. If tomorrow I get chest pains, or if, you know, my kryptonite is the health of my family.
Sure.
I think I can go the whole way, right? Because I'm so in my zone. Like, people are like people don't get it. When you're just, do you know how happy I am that I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning? This morning, like, it was fun. Like, I love it. I love like seeing D-Rod, we're both dead. Like, it's fun. And like, I'm healthier than ever. Not like I get it. I get plenty of, like, sleep is the key. The key, this trip's been a little weird because we've been like in studio in Atlanta with rappers, but normally I'm very disciplined about sleep because that's a vulnerability. I've gotten much more serious about my health. Like, the grind, like, health is everything, but people don't understand your brain is operating your health. So if you're happy, like, people I'm so happy playing mainly because I don't want any of this stuff. This is why I keep pushing at this, because this is where the answers come from. Just like the psychologist with like you know, communication, the answers come from, it's okay if you want a huge boat in the Miami harbor, right? It's okay. A, you have to acknowledge that that's what you want, and then B, way more importantly for me, you have to figure out why you want that. By the way, I don't judge. Like, if you want a fucking Lambo or live in fucking Greece or fucking get some new Supremes or have fucking a penthouse apartment or, you know, have a Rolex or fucking have $1 million in cash under your mattress, I'm not judging you. It's just not who I am. If you triple down on your truth, if you never waver from it, as long as you stay your course, you'll win. I don't need the materialistic things for me to posture and peacock in front of others, because I don't give a fuck about your opinion. The truth, natural. The truth, natural. The truth, natural. I don't get to sit on a high horse and judge. You need to know what you're about. I just ask you, I beg you to understand why you want that thing. The conversation that has not happened yet in society is that happiness is the ROI, not a fucking BMW and a mansion. I do not want to go skiing. I do not want to go to a beer garden. It is not fun for me to go look at a museum. Yeah. I am not interested in watching Netflix. I am not interested. You got your perspective. I just want to be happy. Don't you want to be happy?
So when you're working with family, how do you balance the love that you guys have for each other with, you know, giving tough feedback when the time comes?
And yeah, it's the most difficult thing. You know, business is business, and family is family, and those are two. You know, blood is thicker than water. You know, these are unbelievably difficult things. To me, it's like a 50.1. It's not even 51.49 that I like to throw around. Family businesses are more 50.1 to 49.9, where you have to be all about the family. As you can imagine, if you actually understand what I just said, it leads to a lot of tough conversations and a lot of conflict and a lot of being very careful and threading the needle very carefully. At the end of the day, for me personally, I was always in a position in the family business where I was making the core operational decisions, so I had to put the logo ahead of anything else in the micro. I was willing to shut down the fucking business if I thought it was gonna undermine my family relationship of my brother and my dad, but on a day-to-day basis in the micro, I always pushed for the thing that I thought was best for the business. Got it? Think you have what it takes to make it to the top? It's time to make your pitch. Step in and step up, because your window of opportunity isn't the only thing that's closing. I'm so good at it. I'm so good at it. This is real quick, because there's a lot of bubbling up of like, Gary, you're pushing people to work too hard and all this stuff, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, I love when elitists who work their faces off to make a bunch of money, then tell everybody else not to work hard. So to me, if you love what you're doing and you're happy and you're mentally and physically healthy, do you. I'm not judging anybody about doing anything, but it's all about self-awareness and putting a framework around where you don't keep up with the Joneses.
I know you get a lot of criticism for it. I get a lot of criticism for how many hours I work. And I'm like, motherfuckers, are you not listening? Like, here's the punchline.
Happiness.
I work that hard because I'm having fun.
Happiness. I don't want to go skiing, dickface. I do not want to go skiing. I do not want to go to a beer garden. It is not fun for me to go look at a museum. I am not interested in watching Netflix. I am not interested. That doesn't mean that I think everybody else should do that. I think, and I've said consistently, self-awareness, happiness. I've said it a million fucking times. Do I believe in hustle? Yes, I do. I like work ethic. It's controllable. Do I want that to put you into depression or health scares? Yeah, of course not, dickface. But don't sit on a pedestal after you fucking worked hard for 15 years and then tell all these kids that they should have work-life balance, you fucking elitist.
Once you understand that in your life, motherfuckers, you're either going to be chasing money or you're going to be chasing fulfillment, and nary the twain shall meet. When you chase fulfillment, you may also build a massive fucking company.
I'm gonna do both. I always say, and I'm making up the rules, that I'm gonna be the best entrepreneur because I'm gonna make the most money and have the most impact on other entrepreneurs. I only talk what I live. I hate when people work 11 years on their startup, work their faces off. I watch them grind, and then they hit, and then they're sitting on money, and they're not part of their life, and then the advice they're giving isn't what they lived. I want to hear from people publicly that made $47,000 a year their whole life and are happy as shit. Go talk about that. We're talking about happiness. People are using mental health as a weapon to make themselves look good, just like nonprofits. You might be tricking the 99%, but you're not tricking the 1%, partner.